Guy I knew bought a boat, not for himself, for everybody. That was the whole pitch. He'd been on this kick where nobody hangs out anymore, everybody's got kids, nobody drives 40 minutes for anything, so he buys a boat, 22-footer, puts it on the lake. And it worked. It genuinely worked. Every weekend for 2 summers, 12 people on that boat. Cooler, speaker, somebody's cousin. Best time anybody had in years. He paid for the boat, he paid for the slip, he paid for the gas and the insurance and the guy who fixes whatever broke that week. Nobody else paid for anything. Why would they? It was free. Third summer, he sold it. And when people asked what happened, he said the boat was a great idea. It just didn't work out. The boat was fine. The boat was never the problem. Okay, so that's Xbox. Mike Brown ran creative on Forza Horizon 5, 9 years at Playground. He left a few years back to start his own studio, Maverick Games, where he's making an open world racer called Clutch, which is very politely aimed directly at Forza's throat. He went on the MinMax podcast. They asked him about the Xbox situation, and he gave what is, I think, the most honest answer anybody's given about this, which is also the answer that has made everyone furious. He said Microsoft invested a fortune in Game Pass. That's the word he used, fortune. And that investment is why teams got acquired, why games got funded, why a lot of people had jobs at all. And then he said not enough people subscribed at the prices they needed to charge to make that math work. So now studios get shut down or spun off, loads of people lose their jobs, and that's a result of a well-meaning, player-focused idea not quite landing. His words, the concept of Game Pass was good, like it's a good idea, and then unfortunately it didn't. I want to sit here for a second because I think about half the internet read that as a guy defending a subscription service and the other half read it as a guy blaming customers for not subscribing hard enough. It's neither. He's describing a bill. And I'll get to the number that actually closed these studios because it's not a sales number and it's not a subscriber number. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. But first, the bad part. Here's the tally as of right now, 3,200 Xbox jobs cut across this fiscal year, roughly a fifth of the division. 1,600 of those happened on July 6th. The other 1,600 are on a schedule that runs through June of next year, which means there are people currently at Xbox who know they're getting fired and don't know what month. 4 studios out the door. Double Fine, which Tim Schafer started in 2000, Compulsion, who made South of Midnight, Undead Labs, about 110 people, Mid Development on State of Decay 3, Ninja Theory. Arcane's Lion Office is sitting in a French labor review, which is the only reason we don't have a 5th name yet. Sure, cool, great year. And the reason I keep coming back to Brown's quote is that he's right about the mechanism. And the mechanism is so much dumber than a villain would be. Game Pass Ultimate went from $19.99 to $29.99 in October of 2025, 50% overnight, partly to pay for Call of Duty Day 1. Xbox's own chief strategy officer got on stage at Summer Game Fest this June and said they shed millions of subscribers over a span of a few months. Not some churn, millions. He said it out loud at an event on purpose. So this April, the new CEO cuts it back to $22.99 and pulls Call of Duty off Day 1, which is Xbox looking at the flagship product of a decade-long strategy and going, yeah, we can't afford to put our best game in our own thing. Get out of here. Okay, the number. Forza Horizon 6 came out May 19th. It sold 4.9 million copies, $325 million in about a week. Analysts had it as the best reviewed game of the year. On top of the sales, another 3 million people played it through Game Pass. That's not a struggling product. That's one of the biggest launches anybody had this year. Playground siblings still got shed because the number that runs this building isn't sales, it's margin. Xbox's own internal memo puts the division's accountability margin at 3%, down year over year. And reporting from last year said there was an executive mandate floating around for a 30% target, 3% against 30. That's the whole thing. That's the whole video. You can sell 5 million copies of a racing game and still be a rounding error inside a company that made most of its money that quarter, renting server space to insurance companies. And this is the part that actually gets me. When Playground puts Forza on Game Pass Day 1, 3 million people play it for free. That is a real cost. Somebody eats it. Playground doesn't eat it because Playground got their check. The studio that eats it is the one whose game nobody bought because everybody already had it. You know, the free bread basket at a restaurant, table gets seated, bread comes out, it's warm, it's unlimited. Everybody loves the bread. And then the table orders 2 appetizers and splits them and leaves. Nobody at that table did anything wrong. The bread was good. The bread was maybe the best part, but you cannot run a restaurant on bread. You definitely cannot then get mad at the table. Jason Schreier said on his podcast this month that there are people in Xbox studio leadership who absolutely detest Game Pass, who think it destroyed the value of their games and took value out of all games generally. A former Xbox studio lead told Windows Central that putting games in there for free on day one tells people the games don't have inherent market value. That's not a hot take from a YouTube guy, that's coming from inside the building. 10 years of teaching 100 million people that new games are free if you're patient, and then acting surprised that new games don't sell. The bread was free. The bread was actually never free. And I want to be real for a minute because there's a specific thing in the story I haven't been able to shake. June 7th, Xbox Game Showcase. Ninja Theory walks out on stage and announces Senua, a third game in the Hellblade series. Actual creative team, actual applause. The reveal plays well. June 15th, Monday morning, staff get called into a meeting and told the studio is closing unless somebody buys it. 9 days. And there's reporting not confirmed, that Microsoft already knew before the showcase, that the reveal may have been there to make the studio look attractive to a buyer. And I keep thinking about somebody on that team on the 7th, Cambridge Studio. Maybe they moved there for the job. Maybe they've got a mortgage there now. And they're watching their game on a stage in front of the entire industry, texting their family, screenshotting the comments, having the best professional day of their life. And it was already decided. That's what I can't get past. Now that they got laid off, the industry does that constantly now. We've all gotten disgustingly used to it. It's that somebody let them have the day. Game Pass launched in 2017, and for a while the pitch was real. Weird games got funded. Pentiment exists because of it. A small team inside Obsidian got to make a medieval murder mystery with no combat that was never going to sell on a shelf, and it's one of the best things anybody made that decade. That was the promise, not cheap games, strange ones. That promise had a price tag. Somebody was always going to get handed the bill. It just wasn't going to be anybody who chose the strategy. Right, so enough of that. A couple of leftovers because this gets funnier the longer you look at it. Phil Spencer championed Game Pass for a decade, reportedly against his own staff's objections, retired in February after 38 years, and is not the guy holding the bag. The bag is being held by a CEO who's been in the chair 5 months and whose entire job now is unwinding the thing. Undead Labs is being sold, and Xbox has arranged funding specifically so they can finish State of Decay 3, which is great. Nobody will confirm whether the finished game stays on Game Pass, which is a very funny question to leave open. And Mike Brown, the guy who said all this, is currently building a direct Forza competitor at his own independent studio. He also went out of his way to defend Sarah Bond and told people online going after her that they don't know her and don't know what she does, which, respect. That cost him nothing and he did it anyway. And if I'm you, I'd stop treating a subscription like a favor somebody's doing you. It's a business. It has a spreadsheet. When the spreadsheet doesn't work, the people who made the games you liked are the first line item. Buy the small ones, buy the weird ones, not because you owe anybody, because the studios that made them are exactly the ones that get sold. If this pulled you out of an all hands meeting where somebody's about to say the word restructuring, I've done my job. Like if it landed. Subscribe if you want more of these, and tell me in the comments, what's a game you played on Game Pass that you would have happily paid full price for and never did? Be honest, I've probably got at least 3. Somebody's still going to say the boat was a good idea. I'll see you in the next one. Cyler, out.